Well, we've made some progress in the last week or two on the Willet house in Jonesboro. Guess what? It is now painted. Yeah, the trim's not done, it's only the walls, and it's only primer. But it is emotionally a next step forwards. The walls are beautifully smooth, there's no new cracks. Paint is all done. Primer, sorry. No, there's no baseboards, and no, the trim hasn't been painted. But it is all one colour, which has also caused us to vacuum and clean a little bit. So it is looking like progress. Today is going to be downspouts blown off the gutter. Backyard's looking good. We had torrential rain last night. 3 inches or so of rain. But everything looks good. Just gets a little wet, then it dries out. So today is tearing the floor up. Or at least tearing the surface floor up out of this room. Taking the subfloor up, fixing the joists, and then putting the floor down again. Got to clean up a little bit of paint and stuff first though. So that's white oak. That's our own wood, cut with our own sawmill. Been sitting here for about 2 months. Dry enough now to be put down. Look at those walls. So straight and clean. Not exactly finished, but it's looking good. And that is not going to look like that later today. I'm a little fearful that the next joist, which is where my foot is got to be cut out. Maybe even the one after that. Also the end of the joists over on that step in the footing have rotted, so I'm going to have to jack those up. So the house was built with a step in the wall, which is where all the joists sit, but there was no pressure treated plate in those days for the joist to sit on. They are hickory and they've lasted for, hundreds of years, so it is good. I won't go into the part of the house that's not done. But here we are. Smooth and antique white. I think this is my favourite because these walls are enormous and they were really bad. That door and frame had fallen out of the wall because all the bricks had fallen away, so I had to rebuild that wall there at the end. The door frame back in. Looks nice. I think it looks nice. We have a handrail just like this for the log house that we just bought. So we're going to keep the original pine boards on the floor. They were down for years, several coats of paint, before they then put these tacky oak floor on top of it, which now needs to come up. But not downstairs. Not upstairs, I mean. We're going to do downstairs first. But look at all these walls. Look at all these rooms. All nice and clean. The house doesn't smell anymore. It's a little tiny bit musty. But if we turn the heating on, then that mustiness goes away. new fireplaces. So that fireplace is going in right there. And then another new fireplace is going in over there. This is the part of the house we've not touched yet. Those fireplaces are going to be thrown away. They're just planks of wood with decorative planks over the top of them. There's nothing really of consequence to them. Even inside the closet is all plastered and painted. A lot of work to get these walls straight, but they are now nice and straight. Nice. Nice, nice. All right, on with the floor downstairs, and I'll shoot another video at the end of the day to show the progress. In fact, I might even shoot a little video after I've exposed the floor. So first step is tear the top floor off, cut out as much of the rot as I need, clean it all up, take a look at what I got, and form a plan. I'll see you later. Well, I was planning to start the next video when it was all stripped out and cleaned off, but before I finish stripping it and cleaning it, it's worth taking a look at a few interesting things. So you have to strip back as far as where you can see nasty stuff, and guess what? Half the room is pretty nasty. But interesting history, very interesting history. I've stopped there because there's something interesting to show on the other side of it. So that's the last of the original 2x10 hickory floor joists. They've got bracing, beautiful square head nails. I don't particularly love them, it's just that they are interesting square head nails in order to show the most likely time of that repair. So going back in the history of the house, built in 1840, burnt down in the late 1850s. The surprising fact is the railroad came in through town in 1856. I wonder what caused all of the fires later, a year or two later, across town. Half of Jonesboro burned down in the late 1850s. But anyway, the reason I mention that is that I would say that this floor was not original to the house, but most likely replaced after the fire. A couple of things noteworthy. One is a middle brace. It is only a pile of bricks, but up to this point, floor is nice and solid. After that point, no bracing. And as I was cutting this floor out, I started to get angry with whoever the contractor was that dumped all this dirt, because the accumulation of the pile of dirt sitting up against the floor joists is what's caused them to rot, except for the ends, which have rotted because they're sitting on that wet brick sill out there. But the more I looked at this, the more I realized it was not a contractor, or at least not a full-size contractor. It's a darned gopher. So the gopher, little tiny guy, in order to excavate himself a nice warm home underneath the fire, he dug out all of this dirt. It's unbelievable. The amount of dirt that has been excavated from that hole and pushed out. Absolutely incredible. But of course it sat down against the first two floor joists, rotted them right through. But I thought that was the limit of what I was going to find, and then I found all kinds of other stuff. So the joists up to this point are in Beautiful shape, really just love them. The reason for that is airspace underneath. That notch that you see there is by the installation of the steam pipes for the steam heat. That probably would be in 1910, 1920s-ish, because the furnace downstairs, coal-fired steam furnace, has got a 1915 stamp on it. So the reason for stopping here is just to show what this lazy person did, because this floor has been fixed before. I'm guessing it was fixed because of a dip. The dip was caused by this joist over here rotting through. And instead of removing it, the guy sisted up a beam over to the point where he thought it was strong enough. No support in the middle, nailed through to the side, and the one up against the fireplace, which was also probably rotted away, he left that stub end, which is original, overlapped it by 6 inches, and nailed it to a new one. The new one looks like it's also hickory. I haven't whacked it yet, but it's got to be torn out. I'll take a look at that later. But the reason for stopping and not clearing all of the floor was this. I just can't fathom why anyone would do this. I think he cut through the floor, didn't find a joist when he was cutting it, didn't want to cut it a second time, and then sisted up but not attached a partial floor joist just so he had something to nail his new floor to. The replacement boards, I should say, in the new floor. I've done a similar thing, which is you cut a few inches away to make sure that you are in the right place, and then you measure from that to draw your line to do your second cut so that you've actually hit the top of the joist. This guy didn't even put a spacer between them, didn't attach them. It's basically floating in midair. It's not on that brick. And it's end nailed and joined at that point, and then doesn't even continue across at that point. So I'm really a little annoyed. But good news of the day is that joint there is beautiful. All of the ones from this side out to the hallway I know are good because I've been under that floor. That's why you can see plastic pulled as far as this point to keep the ground moisture dry, but that's as far as I could get for obvious reason. Couldn't get any closer up here. That's only about an 8-inch gap, so I could only get up that far and push my arm through with the plastic ahead of me. So this is coming out. I got to get a wheelbarrow and a shovel, shovel it all out, clean it up, put new joists back in. I think I'll put a center support in this time. Take the bounce out of the one that I'm standing on. No, it has no bounce. The last one that has bounce is this one. So I'll put a center support down there. And I might flow some concrete into that gopher hole. The gopher is not there because one of the first jobs I did when we bought the house was to put wire mesh over the vents. You can see the backside of one there sticking through. But every 6 feet or so there's a vent through to the outside. And I'd seen evidence of cats getting in, so I blocked that up. But it is 2 o'clock. This is 4 hours worth of demo. Big mess. I've actually cleaned up since I did it before the second phase. I'm going to finish that off, take those joists out, and then probably call it quits for the day, and then come back with a shovel and wheelbarrow tomorrow to clean the rest of this up. And I'll bring the big trailer, I think. I have some 3x9 oak which are all 15 to 16 feet long. This room is 19 feet, so I can put a center support in, and those will be superb to replace. To replace this, 9x3s will be extremely stiff over a 10-foot span. So anyway, so that's it. And I started the day saying how beautiful the painting was. I've had days start good and end less good before. Anyway, I'll show another video again in a few days probably when I've got it all framed back in.